Welcome, everyone, to the Success Elevated podcast. As always, I'm your host, Hayden Lee, and I am joined this week by my co-hosts here, very closely sat together.
Very close today, Hayden.
This is going to be a very close podcast. We're going to have some awesome conversations.
But I love sitting next to you for the podcast instead of
over Zoom.
Yeah,
it's very nice. Katie Harris, founding partner here at Spot On Solutions. Katie, thanks for joining me, always.
You bet.
We have a very special guest today. We were talking briefly before we started recording, like, what do you want your title to be? What do you want us to introduce you as? And he said, just introduce me as Brad Camphouse. So
I am Brad.
Brad is here. His name is Brad, and he is here to talk all things Brad.
And if you know Brad, for anybody that knows Brad, I'm super excited for our listeners today to get to hear him. But if you know Brad, you know there's a lot of titles that could go with that.
There's a lot of titles that could go with it.
Yes.
We're going to probably talk a little bit about all of them today. But Brad, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Yes, thank you for having me.
So is this really your first podcast you've ever been on?
My very first podcast.
We will be nice, but Hayden's good to be a first-time podcaster with.
Yep.
It's not my first time ever in front of a camera, but it's my first time
on a podcast. Okay,
Yeah.
love it. This is what's cool about podcasting is we get to talk more in depth about like who you are versus like I feel like sometimes like just being on a camera doing something for social media, you kind of have to put on a different face. But this is an opportunity to be like, who is Brad? Let's let people get to know you a little bit, which is cool. So
Hayden always says, I love when you say, Hayden, like I have a front row seat to success, right? And it's so fun to be able to talk to people who have built successful businesses and figured out some things in life that work. And Brad, I think you're a great example of a front row seat to success today. So
yeah, so we'll kind of leave it up to you, but wherever you want to start to talk a little bit about your background. I know. The Brad Camphouse 5, 10, 15 years ago is probably different than the Brad Camphouse today.
Different, yes.
So whatever direction you want to go, however far back you want to go, how did you get into this entrepreneurial world? That's most of the people we talk to are entrepreneurs or small business owners. And so I know you have kind of a unique perspective on that. So I'd love to hear how you got into, what you're doing today.
Yeah, so back in 1981. No, I'm just kidding. That was when I was born.
I was an infant child.
wherever he wanted.
I did. Let's start day one. Listen, I'm totally fine with that.
I was born and raised in Rexburg. So
okay, cool.
That's all I was going with that. I'm not going to go through 1981. To be fair, I don't.
But a Southeast Idaho guy, yes.
Southeast Idaho. I was born and raised here. I went to Madison High School, graduated in 1999. I spent a little time at Idaho State University, and then I went to work with my dad as a construction worker.
Cool.
So you got construction blood.
I've got construction blood.
All right, that tells me why. Now I know so much about you.
Yeah, right? It doesn't.
I know so much about you now because you're a hard worker.
I am a hard worker.
And you know how to build things.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
You know how to build things, so that's cool.
It's an interesting thing. We talk to a lot of like home service type people, and a lot of them have a background in construction or some kind of hardworking type business, and it always feels like those individuals end up being set up really, really successfully for owning a small business.
Yeah.
More so, maybe at least starting off in the same place. You've started off in a better spot than a lot of other people that start a small business because you're familiar with like I'm gonna have to work long hours and do hard things.
It's actually very funny that you say it that way because I was just talking to my wife about this the other day. How there was a lag in my week. And so I had kind of a day in the middle of the week. I want to say it was a random Wednesday. And I just didn't have anything to do. And I was like, this is weird, right? I'm at home. It's 9:30 in the morning.
And I don't have anything
and I
to
don't,
do.
like, I said, I feel awkward.
Yeah.
Just standing here in the living room.
Yeah.
I'm not out doing something. I feel like I got to go do something. And, of course, then the phone rings and it's off to the races again.
So you started in construction then? You followed your dad?
I started in construction. I started at the very bottom of the barrel. I was a laborer, sweeping floors. My first tape measure was a piece of a tape measure. It wasn't even a full tape measure.
Okay.
And I wound it up on a piece of a board of some sort.
Yeah.
And that was what I started with. And my dad taught me to drive a pickup on the job site.
How old? It's Idaho, so.
I probably started driving truck when I was like 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not quite legal age, but
Yeah.
I was driving pickups around the job site, just trying to figure it out. And even before that, my grandpa was a farmer,
Oh,
and
yeah.
so
There's
I
like
was
no
driving
rules on a farm.
Feed truck, could barely see. And
That's
and he'd
awesome.
push on the brakes when I'm driving to the river, and then he'd jump in and then turn the truck around, and we would go the other way. So that was my very first memory of driving, was trying to see over the dashboard.
Yeah.
And I couldn't reach anything. I was just drive straight, right? Don't
That's
push anything,
awesome.
just drive straight. And when I tell you, you step on that big black pedal.
That's funny.
So that's it.
So how long did you stay in construction?
A long time. So I started, and when I left Idaho State University, I never graduated, I never did anything, and I went straight to work, and I went to Sun Valley. Or it's actually
Which is a very much a
Bellevue.
resort town, right?
It is.
Bellevue,
It
that
is.
whole area.
So Bellevue is not the resort. It's where the workers are, right? So it's Bellevue, Haley, Ketchum, and Sun Valley, literally in that order, in geographic standpoints, as well as how much money people have going up. Like it's the
Further
working
you go up the
class.
mountain.
The further you go up the mountain, Ketchum is like your millionaire. You go over the mountain to Sun Valley, and it's into the billionaires. So it's just as it moves up, right? And we were building like not townhouse style, but more apartment style stuff.
Yeah.
In Bellevue.
Condos,
Yeah. And then I moved into Ketchum, and we were doing these multi-million. Actually, was the Sun Valley Ski Lodge, the old Sun Valley Ski Lodge that they tore down, and I was part of that demo crew. And then once it was gone, we were building just these little single family. It's not even a town. It's like a resort / Airbnb style, but it was before Airbnb, right?
Yeah.
So that wasn't happening yet. But they were $20 million spec houses / these guys spent like a week there.
Yeah.
So the guys that had this big money,
Crazy.
they come and would ski for 1 week
And live in that house.
and then leave. What was really cool was when we were building it, the guy imports this Brazilian Bloodwood, and it was this gorgeous wood. I'd never seen. And
how old were you at this point?
Probably 19
Okay.
when this was happening, right? Graduated high school, had gone to a little bit Idaho State University, and then was working with that. And there was this Brazilian Bloodwood, and he comes in and he says, "I don't like it. I want you to beat it up." And we're like, "What? I don't even know what that means." So we took chains and welded like nails and screws, and then I hated it. It was the worst job ever. We sat there and beat this wood.
This beautiful,
wood.
amazing wood.
Gosh.
And it was just like destroyed. And then we had to sand it, sand all that out. So it was this distressed look. But what this guy wanted in his, basically his weak cabin.
Yeah.
And anyway, it was super fun. So construction that's kind of where I started in construction, was doing stuff like that. Moved to Chicago for a little while, and I was stick framing houses in Chicago for about 2.5, 3 years. Moved back, and I just worked and worked and worked. Kept going up all the way until I got out of construction. It was probably 2006 when I got out of construction. And that was when I had met my wife. And then I was like, construction's so hard on my body. Yeah, I was making pretty good money, but I was traveling all over trying to do it, and I needed to be home. My wife was a nurse at Ermac and in the ICU, and I wanted to have something more solid, something that had insurance, things like that. So I became a delivery driver for a company called Worth Lewis & Company in cabinet shops. And I was distributing all of these cabinet components up and down the valley. Blackfoot here, Cowboy Custom Cabinets.
Yeah.
So his name's John Brady, I believe.
Yep.
Now, and that's been a while. That's been over 10 years ago since I was.
They're still out there.
Here.
They're still out there. Yep.
So I did that. I worked my way up as a delivery driver into inside sales. Then I decided I wanted to become the manager because the manager was leaving. Well, you had to have a degree. So I went back to school, got a degree in business management on University of Phoenix online. If you know me, I hate to read and I hate to sit and watch things on a computer.
And
That's
going
what
to
you were
school
doing.
online,
And
that's kind of the two things you have to do.
Atlanta, it was terrible. But we figured it out. We got it. And then I didn't get the job. Ugh, right?
Oh, no.
Brutal.
Oh, no.
Brutal. So I was inside sales rep. And then this company called Advanced Hardware Supply out of Boise hired me, or kind of sniped me, because I knew everybody in the valley because I was a delivery driver for 4 or 5 years before that, and then was inside sales, so I had a really good relationship with everybody. That's kind of where I got my sales background, was doing that kind of thing. And then Advanced Hardware sniped me, and he said, hey, I want you to start and run and operate a branch for us in Idaho Falls. So now it's going to be direct competition
to your old job.
To my old job. Well, you didn't hire me, bro. You should have. Anyway, so I started that. I was the manager. I was driving back and forth to Boise picking up parts. And so I started that here in Idaho Falls with a guy named Matt Groves. Matt Groves is the owner of Advanced Hardware Supply. And then I did that for another few years before he wanted me to become outside sales, because I was good at selling stuff, right? And
you're always selling.
Right, I was always selling stuff. And so I said, okay, I'll do it. So he shipped me to Niagara Falls to teach me about the Sherwin-Williams product, which is the top coats, so that I knew more about what was going on.
Yeah.
As I was doing that, I had an opportunity to take some real estate school at the same time. So I went, did my training in Niagara Falls, came back.
And now you're back in school.
And I'm back in school again. And it was right as, I think this was like, so it was like, I want to say it was 2014, 2015, when that was happening. Because I didn't get my real estate license until 2016. I got my real estate license because I'd built a house, and I had some equity in this house. And I was like, oh, $30,000.
Yeah.
I could cash out on 30 grand. Granted, I was making like 35-ish thousand a year as a general manager / outside salesman / and I thought I was doing pretty good. I mean, that's, well, I mean, at the time, that's like average median income for the area.
Yeah.
I'm doing fine. My wife works full-time as a nurse. She makes great money. We're doing fine. But what if I sold this house and capitalized on all of that money, on that equity?
Yeah. And what if you could do it a couple more times?
Yes,
and
right? And don't back up out of the mic, sorry.
Something happened in your brain at that point in time.
Something was starting to happen there where I was like, I could see a different path other than working a 9 to 5, a 401k. What my wife did, it was the safe thing to do, right? It's safe. And so at that time, I was like, I asked Matt, hey, do you think it'd be okay if I could go get my real estate license? Heck yeah, dude. You should sell stuff on the side. You could make some great money doing it.
Yeah.
So I get my real estate license.
And the Bearded Realtor is born.
And the Bearded Realtor is born. Yes. It actually started as the Bearded Salesman, but I felt like that was too used car salesman-y.
Yeah.
And so my
Realtor's way more elevated. More elevated, Brad.
100%.
My broker was like, maybe you should switch it to Bearded Realtor. Which is technically not allowed because the National Association of Realtors doesn't allow you to use the word realtor unless it's just Brad Camphouse Realtor.
Okay.
Oh, I got you.
So as you can see, there's not a lot of things out there that say the Bearded Realtor. I just kind of go by the Bearded Realtor.
People just started calling you that.
Right. Like you were talking about earlier. I have a lot of different names. People call me things. Sometimes it's jerk. Sometimes it's no.
Sometimes those 4-letter words. Yeah. Sometimes those. Yeah.
I got my real estate license. And I sold my first 4 houses back to back to back.
Wow.
And it was really fast and made more money in 3 months than I had in the previous 2 years.
Jeez.
And I was like, oh,
things are starting to look a lot different now.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
And so I told him, I have to pursue this. I'm sorry. I know you just sent me to training. I know that I've started this for you. I know that I'm like your cornerstone to Idaho Falls. But these guys got this too. Like I'll help train them. I'll help keep the guys in the warehouse for you, and I'll transition out.
Yeah.
And I transitioned out, and I never looked back. And I started selling houses. I sold houses for only maybe 18 months is all that I was a realtor as far as the buyer-sellers only standpoint, because there's so many different fingers to the real estate world, whether that's lending, whether that's title, whether that's being a builder, which was my background anyway, whether it's helping buyers and sellers, whether it's having TC, right? And which later my wife became my TC and didn't have to be a nurse anymore.
Yeah.
And so she was doing all of my transaction coordinating, all of my paperwork, stuff like that. So she got to get out of that. She didn't necessarily want to get out, but it was so perfect timing because when she got out, it was December 2019.
Oh,
right
before COVID.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know. It gives me goosebumps how lucky we were in the fact that it happened exactly that moment. She never had to go through any of that nursing stuff that everybody was going through during COVID. It was a scary, scary time. And I was still selling houses. I was still moving stuff.
Yep.
But if I back up a little bit, so it was about 18 months, and then I started to work for a company called Copper Creek Homes here in Idaho Falls. Copper Creek Homes builds a bunch of houses. I became their salesman inside of their model home, and I would go sit in that model home and wait for people to come, tell them about the house. Hey, we can build it. And it was kind of a good mesh for me because it was doing itching my construction side, but also hitting my salesman side, and it was just starting to blend together at that point. I don't think I'd even really grabbed second gear into real estate yet when I was with Shay. Shay was the owner. I guess I don't know if he still is the owner, if he sold out. Anyway, I was selling houses with him in there, and then he asked me to go with him to different job sites because he found out I had a construction background. Hey, maybe you could help me in different areas of the company. That lasted a week before he asked me to be CEO. And then I became the CEO of the company. We started building tons of houses. Anyway, that kind of fell apart after a while. And we were being super successful, but there was difference of opinions. I left. That's when my flipping career started, though. And I was like, I can't not be doing the construction side and selling them. Like, there's so much opportunity there. I have to pursue that, right? And I just gone through a thing called the Ninja sales. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that.
I haven't.
Yeah, no, I haven't.
Ninja sales is all about abundance over scarcity. How do you change your own mindset into something that's always looking for the next step? No matter where you're at in your own career or in your own life, how do you achieve the next step versus I can't do that, right?
Yeah.
Do you think you had always been kind of an abundance mindset or a scarcity mindset? Was this a shift for you?
Yes and no. It was in me, but I hadn't tapped it yet. Yeah, it hadn't come out yet in the fact that it was, I think everybody's scarcity at first, especially because, anybody that's not ever experienced any kind of success, whether that's financially or even personally, I don't know that you
know what abundance looks like.
You don't know what it looks like. That's a very good way to put it. So everybody's a little bit scarcity, and I'm going to go with the safe bet. I'm not going to go and buy this because I can't afford it, right? That's the scarcity mindset versus I'm going to go figure out how to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the only difference. I can't do it versus I'm going to figure out how to do it, no matter what it is. So the Ninja sales was helping me do that. And I kind of want to talk about this a little bit. Can I spend some time on this?
Absolutely.
Go for it.
Because I know this was pivotal for you.
This was huge.
And I've heard you talk about this with other people because I know you love to mentor people.
Yep.
And this was a pivotal moment for you when you were like, oh no, this abundance mindset makes all the difference.
Well, and we've talked about abundance versus scarcity, but not in this way. This is kind of a cool way. Yeah. So anyways, go
talk
ahead.
about it.
Oh, thanks. Anyway, thanks for having me again, right? I love to talk about this.
This is awesome.
Because I really came from not very much to where I'm at.
You were the bottom of the mountain looking up,
I was
right?
literally looking straight up at, looking at the top of the Tetons going, how in the world can I get there? And I don't know.
Yeah.
But it is one step at a time. And that abundance over scarcity mindset is what got me there. And my broker, Zach Martin at the time, is the group real estate. He's the current owner of Pick Me Up Drinks, which I'm sure you're all familiar with.
Yes, very familiar. Yep.
I helped him kind of start that. He was the major portion of all of it, but I helped him build the first one that was over there behind the theater in Idaho Falls.
Yep.
And then I purchased Pocatello Pick Me Up as a franchise and started the Pocatello portion of that. And then he bought me out immediately because he wanted to grow and go that way into Twin Falls, and I don't think he's gone into Boise yet, but he's very much wanting to grow that way still further. But Zach was the one that was pivotal in teaching me that ninja cells. And do you know what the RAS of your brain is? The reticular activating system. So in ninja cells, they teach you what you focus on expands, right? And
It's like the law of attraction.
yes.
Okay.
So what car do you drive?
I drive a Chevy Silverado.
Chevy Silverado, what color is it?
Black.
Black. When you were buying your Chevy Silverado that is black, before you purchased it, you were kind of going through this process of, I'm thinking about what I want, right? And as you drove around Blackfoot and as you drove around the area, every single Chevy black Silverado
stands out.
You're like that one.
Yeah.
Like that. Everybody goes through this.
Yeah.
And so I use that as an example because that's the example they use in the book, and it's very true. But that's the reticular activating system in your brain, your non-conscious brain, that's picking out something automatically that you weren't focused on before.
That's cool.
So what you're focusing on expands. So how do you grow that portion of your brain? How do you make that start to work in your favor as far as becoming a successful entrepreneur or becoming a successful real estate agent or a successful flipper or owning a portion of a mortgage company or whatever it is that you can get into? Well, how do you tap into that, right? And so that's what the Ninja Book of Sales was teaching us. Well, the way you do it is through writing down daily affirmations. And so what I was writing down was, I enjoy earning $120,000 a year. I would write that down 25 times a day, and then 2 things that I was thankful for at the very end. I'm thankful for my wife. I'm thankful for my kids. But you have to change the 2 thankful things every day for 90 days.
But you keep the affirmation the same.
Affirmation stays exactly the same. And it is difficult to do this every day. I don't feel like it. But it's establishing 2 things in you. It's establishing something that's very easy, but it's disciplined. And so you're doing it every single day. You're being disciplined. Same with losing weight, right?
Yeah.
Which I am not disciplined at.
Same.
Right? But it's about being disciplined every single day and doing simple tasks. But then there's something a little bit hard at the end, because once you go through, I'm thankful for my wife, my kids, my family.
Start getting creative. Yeah.
Now you got to start to think. And that's the purpose. We're trying to tap into your brain and force you to do things that are you have to start thinking about what makes you thankful. And you have to do this first thing. You don't get to go get a drink in the morning or brush your teeth or go to the bathroom. You have to grab the pen and paper and write it down. It takes 3 to 8 minutes, depending on how fast you write. But you have it right there next to you. The second you wake up, you pick it up and you start doing that. What that's doing is driving into your brain 2 things: your goal and what you're thankful for. And that's the best way to start a day ever. And I will swear by this forever because
this was
of
brand
my
new
story.
to you, though. You'd never done this before.
I'd never done it before.
Yeah.
And then you have an accountability partner, a girl named Nicole Hill. She's also a real estate agent here in the Valley. She was my accountability partner with that. And you have to send it. So you finish it, you date it. Has to be in pen. You can't write it in pencil, so you're cheating.
Yeah.
Take a picture of it and send it to your accountability partner, and they have to do the same for you.
Okay.
That way, it holds you accountable.
That's cool.
Did you guys have the same goal that you were writing down, or were you different?
No, I don't even remember what hers was.
Okay.
But I want to say hers was like, I enjoy closing 4 contracts a month. Maybe it was something like that.
Yeah.
But we would even have little bets, Nicole and I. This is kind of fun. So if we miss, it's $50.
Wow.
You don't do it, you owe me $50. So of course there's several times that I missed, but I always paid her in pennies. I would go to the bank and get $50 in pennies. And one time it was like, there was a bet. I'm a Cowboys fan, and she bet on the Patriots something. It was like $250 or something.
And pennies.
And it was in pennies.
Oh my God.
And that's a lot.
That's a lot.
And it's
pennies.
like it's work to get it moved into the office and put on the desk.
Oh, that's
anyway,
so great.
That was a fun side note. But back to being abundance over scarcity and driving that into my brain. So when I remember where I was exactly. It was on the corner of Sunnyside and Rolandette. We were stopped at that stoplight. I was in the passenger seat with Shay, and he said, I want you to be my CEO. what's that going to cost me? What do you think my answer was?
Exactly what you've been writing every day.
What you've been writing every day.
And I was like, it worked.
Yeah.
What on earth just happened to me? Mind you, 2 years before that, I made $35,000 a year as a delivery driver / manager / outside sales. This was massive growth in my own brain and the way things were working, and it worked. And I didn't even realize that it was working until it worked, right? Like there's a saying that people say, you don't know what it's like to have kids till you have your own.
Yeah.
It's the exact same concept, right?
Yeah.
You don't know what this is like actually truly focusing on abundance until you've done it. And once you've done it, you're like, what?
Yeah.
I get what you're talking about. Holy smokes, this works.
Yeah.
And this is now blossomed into so much more. I started flipping houses when I left Copper Creek Homes, and I just bought and am currently doing my 116th flip since 2019.
Wow.
Jeez.
That's
5
why you didn't know what
years.
to do with yourself when you had a morning.
Yeah, because and I've got so many systems set in place now. I have the Bearded Realtor, right? I have 2 partners, Chris and Wes, Chris Carney and Wes Phillips.
Yeah.
Blackfoot guy, Wes Phillips.
He is a Blackfoot guy. Matter
Yeah.
of fact, Aberdeen. Yeah.
No,
Was it Blackfoot?
He went to Snake River.
Yes.
And he's just a couple years older than me. That's cool.
So
That's
he has
super cool.
Big beard as well. Right?
Yeah. That's awesome.
Chris Carney is a little bit older than us. He is retired from the Marine Corps. He is a Marine. Like I always say, he was a Marine. He always corrects me and says, "No,
I'm a Marine.
I'm a Marine.
Right. And that's proper terminology, right?
Yeah.
And so those are my guys. And
You got some partners now.
yes, they're my part. We've flipped quite a few houses together.
That's cool.
Chris has since gone back to school just because he's like, the government's paying for it, so why don't I? He's like, I like rocks, so he's getting his geology degree.
That's cool.
Right?
That's super cool.
And Wes is helping me with a lot of our developments. He sits our model home almost every day. He works his guts out, that kid.
Yeah.
So I'm super blessed to have those guys in my corner.
So that abundancy mindset just kept growing, right? You got a hit of it, and then you just started putting it into everything you were doing.
Right, just literally everything. And I almost feel like I've gotten away from it, unfortunately, because I'm so busy and everything else that I have to really turn back the time and focus on what's my next goal, right? And as a matter of fact, so I just had a conversation with another buddy of mine, Jeremy. And because he was asking me the same questions. How did you do this? I have where do I even start?
Yeah.
And I said, you start with your mindset. And I mean, because until you change you, I can't even help you.
Yeah.
So I can help you change your mindset. I'll be your accountability partner.
Yeah.
And I'll do that for anybody that wants it.
Yep.
And I'll do it for free because I know that if they're successful, then I will be successful somehow, some way, eventually, because they were successful.
That's cool.
The Success Elevated podcast is brought to you by SOS Navigator. SOS Navigator is an on-demand training platform geared towards marketing, personal development, and business growth. We understand that as a business owner in the service industry, you wear a million hats. Let SOS Navigator be a simple and cost-effective way for you to continue to grow your business. Click the link in the show notes below and use code SOS Podcast to get 10% off your next on-demand training course.
My good friend, Eric Sprague, a lot of our listeners know him with Super Tech U. He just wrote a book that I had the privilege to co-author with him. And the first section of that book, right? Not first chapter, first section of that book is about how you focus on you. Like if you want to be successful in business, right? No matter what that business is, the first thing you have to pay attention to is you. And mindset's such a big part of that.
It's massive. And I try and teach my kids that, and I was talking about politics and all sorts of stuff with my 15-year-old daughter the other day, and I got off on that tangent based on the fact that we're talking about her friend group. I was like, to be fair, you're not Ukraine, or you're not the hurricane that's happening right now in Florida. And I was talking about all of that and like tying it back into, but you're in your own little Skyline High School friend group, but there's all these moving parts around you too.
Yeah.
You got to focus on you, right?
Yeah.
And number one thing that I want you to do with all of your friends, even the ones that you're having problems with, is love on them. Because if you love on them, that will grow. Because you're focusing on that good portion of who you are and how you can benefit everyone around you. Yeah. And if you can do that, I guarantee you it will pay itself back.
So that's another thing I see in you, right? So we talk about mindset, but this ability to just really know and care and see value in every person you touch, right? Talk to us a little bit about, is that just naturally who Brad is? Does that just happen naturally for you?
No. So I saw an interview just the other day that made me think exactly about this. You know who John Jones is? John Bones Jones. He is the current UFC heavyweight champion.
Yeah. Okay.
They asked him a question, and the question was, are you a good guy trying to not do bad things, or are you a bad guy trying to do good things?
Oh.
Right? And he sat there and he thought about
question.
it. It is a tricky question.
Yeah.
And so I sat there and I asked myself that question. I honestly think I'm a bad guy trying to do good things, because if I go back, so let's go back to before in my story here that I kind of glossed over really fast. I moved to Boise for a time in between moving to Chicago and living in Sun Valley. And I played rugby for the Boise Crimson Lions. And it was a drinking, crazy party. We used to say that we were drinkers with a rugby problem. That's what it was.
Okay. Very nice. Very nice.
So I had to kind of grow past all of that, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And so I kind of glossed over that, but that's a part of me that I have to harbor down, to hold down. I am definitely the aggressor in every situation, though. And I think my personality kind of exudes that a little bit, because when I walk into a room, I'm there, I'm talking, I'm here, and that's the bad guy in me that I'm holding down and putting good stuff over top of, so that I'm adding value versus trying to be selfish with it, right? Because I've been selfish in the past, and I have to I was naturally that way. And so I had to remake myself.
You're super intentional about being mindful of everybody when you walk into a room.
Because I have to be. And I'm big, too. So I'm 6'4", 300 pounds. When I walk in and stand next to you, I have to be intentional to
give you space.
Give you your space. Because if I walk, especially with a lady, like if I walk in and I'm like, hey, what's up?
Yeah. You want to buy a house?
Right? I have to be intentional with that.
Yeah.
And if I like, my body language is a lot of that.
Aggressive.
Yeah.
And so I have to and give space and be intentional. And so I'm very intentional with 99.9% of what I'm doing, because I have to be. I am the bad guy trying to do good things.
Yeah.
And it's an intentional working process that I have to grow through every single day, right?
It all comes back to, again, this mindset piece, right? Katie kind of asked it earlier, but I'm curious now, even more so, making the leap from being a delivery driver with the consistency of insurance and everything to being a real estate agent is it's a big leap, right? It's a huge leap. And while it probably made sense at the time financially, because you made 4x what your paycheck was, there's still got to be a portion of you that was like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You're going to give up everything?
Yeah.
So
to turn it off.
Yeah. Was it a piece of you, again, similar to the mindset conversation that Katie had, was there always something in you that wanted to do more? Or was it it just kind of fell in your lap one day? You're like, well, I guess I'm going to do real estate now,
No, so what's funny about this is when my wife and I first got married in 2007, I actually had already taken real estate classes, gone through the whole process.
Oh, wow, cool.
Oh, it was timing.
Went and got my license, I hadn't gone and tested and finalized it, because they run your fingerprints, and you have to get insurance, and then you have to hang your license under a brokerage. And I remember going to Century 21 back in 2007. I don't remember who it was. It might have been one of the Taggarts. Anyway, and they kind of talked me out of it. Said, economy's taking a hit right now, or it's not looking great. If you're a brand new realtor,
gonna be hard.
This is going to be hard. And mentally, I was not prepared to just be like, let's buckle down and do this.
Yeah.
And so I didn't do it. And my wife was like, we spent all that money, and now you're not going to do it? You're going to be a delivery driver? Oof. Okay. Bless her heart. Love you, babe. But she has stuck with me over all of this. Yeah. And, I mean, sometimes it's been like, I felt like a caveman dragging her by the hair through the mud, like I'm just going. When actually, when I look back, no, she's just right there holding my hand, saying, "Go, babe, go, babe, go."
Yeah.
And that is another key to growth, right? Is having a support system. Yeah. There is no way I could have ever done where I went to where I'm at without all of the people that are around me. Yeah. And
that's abundance mindset, right there.
That's abundance mindset.
That's 100%.
That's like it's something that's lost in the entrepreneurial world and the small business world.
I think in just
in
life.
In life in general.
I think you see it. It's clear to see when you're looking at it from a business or an entrepreneurial scope, right? But you see it everywhere around. I think the ability to see things with abundance, right? It's like, hey, if somebody else does great, that doesn't mean I'm any less. Like you want other people to achieve because it just grows and gets bigger.
And I can't do this alone. Like I can't. Like you have to. But I think there's also a piece of it. Like in order to get like good mentors and have a good support system, you also have to be a good support system too. Like that's how that's how it comes back, right? Yeah. Like you have to like I want to be a mentor for somebody else. We had this person on our podcast and actually used to work with us, and I quote him all the time. Katie gets sick of it.
It's good though.
Len Hume, who was a partner of ours for a long time and was a client and everything, and he came onto our podcast and talked about a great way to build relationships is to think not what is this person going to do for me, how is this person going to make me more money, but go into it being like, how can I help this person? That's how I become friends with somebody. It's not like, well, is Brad going to take me golfing? You know, like because
he's hoping you're taking him golfing, Brad. I mean, he might not say that, but he's hoping you're taking him golfing. But
that's not how I become friends with Brad. That's how I become a partner with Brad. How I become a partner with Brad is being like, okay, how can I help Brad? Yeah. How can I become a good friend to him and like
what matters to him?
What matters to him, and that's it's related to the abundance mindset and to what you've talked about a bunch. But like that's how you build relationships and build a support system and have people that want to support you is by supporting them.
By adding value, yes. Yeah. You always have to be adding value, and just like that's kind of how we got introduced, right? Is with Tyler at Goodco and talking about adding value and why I want to grow my social media platform. It almost doesn't have anything to do with making the money. And so I'm actually reading a book right now. It's called Good Company. Have you ever read this book?
No.
And it's crazy that it's called Good Company, and we're part of.
We need to give it to Brad or to Tyler. Don't
I have to give it to him.
Yeah.
It's by Arthur Blank, the owner of the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, what the heck?
And also,
I was like, that name sounds super familiar.
And also co-founder of Home Depot.
Yes.
Okay.
It's called Good Company.
Okay.
And it hits on these exact points of building things. It's not. How do I put this? Oh, I'm all over the place. Sorry.
You're good.
It's how my brain works. When I did my Pocatello Pick Me Up, when I opened it, good vibes only. Zach and Amy Martin came up with that. Good vibes only. Mm-hmm. And then I kept thinking about that and the Standard Journal, is that the one?
Idaho State Journal.
Idaho State Journal.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Did an interview with me down there, and they're like, why and how are you growing so fast? Because it was instantly growing down there as a standalone store. The pick-me-ups up here had these other stores that were around it, and so it was growing organically with the other stores. I was by myself down at Pocatello. I was driving down there every single day. Mm-hmm. And they're like, how are you growing it so fast in Pocatello? Because people are coming here like crazy. And when I did that interview, I did that with that in my mind of good vibes only. But and in the interview, if you look it up, I say that it's because it's not about the soda, right? They're asking, it's just soda, and that's exactly what Zach and Amy say too. Now, is it's not about the soda; it's about the good vibes, and it's about the interaction. This goes back to the abundance mindset. It's about the the interactions. Also, shout out to Zach. He helped me learn all of this stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I've kind of taken it to a whole different level and gone my own path with it, but he definitely is one.
Yeah.
He was instrumental.
He was somebody adding value to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he still adds value to everybody around him. It's about the interaction between the person that's taking a soda and handing it to the other person. It has nothing to do with the soda.
They could be handing them whatever. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. And that is exactly true in all business.
Yeah.
This book that I'm listening to right now from a gigantic entrepreneur, that's exactly the message that he's passing in that.
Yeah.
It's called Good Company. The book is called Good Company because it's about the company. It's about us.
Yeah.
It's about the people.
It's not about selling a 2x4.
It's not about a 2x4. It's not about NFL football. It's
Yeah.
not about the soccer league that he owns. It's not about the ranches that he owns up in Montana. It's not about real estate. It's not about mortgage companies. It's not about social media.
Yeah.
It's about the interaction between two people, or 5, or 10, or however many you can touch.
Yeah.
Wow.
So good, right? This is good stuff.
So good, Brad.
This is good stuff.
So when I'm talking about growing my social media platform, growing that, how can I add value to hundreds of thousands across a social media platform?
Yeah.
I don't know, but we're going to figure it out.
We're going to figure it out. It's going to be just like you've figured out everything else along the way, right?
Right.
You step into it.
Yep.
And then you start to be intentional
Yep.
and you apply the same principles. You
Yeah.
apply the abundancy mindset. You apply the add value. You apply the relationships.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden,
It
things
starts
just
to grow.
go. And then you start to see it everywhere. This is the thing I love about Brad is when he talks about you see the black truck everywhere you look.
Yep.
Like Brad sees opportunity everywhere
That's
he looks.
exactly what it's about.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
Ninja Sales is it's teaching you to touch the reticular activating system in your brain that can't take a joke. Your subconscious mind can't take a joke. If you say, I'm fat, you're probably going to be fat. If you're say, I feel ugly, yeah, you're going to look and probably not be as cute as you can be, right? Like, you have to focus on whatever it is you want to expand. In good, bad, or indifferent, if you're focusing on negative stuff, you're going to be negative.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm trying to teach my daughter that right now in this pivotal time as a teenager.
Yeah.
And going through the drama of cheerleading, and she's in Hope Squad, which is a suicide prevention program in Skyline, and dealing with school and getting her driver's license, tumbling every other day. Like, she's busy.
Yeah.
And the emotion, and she's a girl, which is hard for me because I'm not.
Yeah.
Right? And so I'm trying to be this emotional support for her. And that's all I told her. I was like, home is your safe space.
Yeah.
So you can come and talk to me. And she does. My teenager comes and talks to me. Like,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Dad, you'll not even guess today.
Yeah.
And then ask me, what do you think? And meanwhile, I'm getting ready to go hunting, so I'm putting all my stuff together. And she, follow me. We're walking down and loading guns, and I'm doing all sorts of stuff. But we're having this conversation. And then I stop and I say, but it's not about any of that. It's about the love. It's about showing and adding value to all of your friends, to your teachers, to your mom and I, to your siblings. Everybody that you touch, you have to add value at some point.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to do for you. So, and I'm telling you, though, and I grab her by the face, unfortunately, I don't care about any other person. It's you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's you. That's cool.
I only care about you. And she, woo, Dad. And then we hug, right? Make me emotional thinking about it. But that's the point.
Yeah.
I want to still, I do care about them too. But I need her to know that she's first.
End of the day, she's
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, behind her mom.
So when
But
you
she's
talked
fast.
about people that are listening, right? Like so many awesome
I even
takeaways.
forget.
There are people that are listening, right? And there's so many great takeaways and so many things that you can just look at and be like, I'm going to start there. I'm going to do that, right? It's super motivational to hear it. Like, what do you say to somebody who's kind of like, man, I'm not making as much money as I want. I'm working my guts out. I'm getting burned by people, right? This is stuff we hear all the time, right? What do you say to them? Where do you start?
Stop focusing on that. What you focus on expands. You have to change your mindset. So if you come to me and say, I'm not making enough money, why? What are you doing? Well, I work at the shop. Well, then maybe you should stop. I mean, that's not a safe thing to say. I am not a financial advisor, But if that's what's your negative and you're focusing on that negative, you got to change the negative.
Yeah.
You have to focus on something new.
I loved you saying you were writing down an exact amount, right? Like, I make this, or what was your thing? What did you write down?
So, and this is a key thing too. So I'm glad you bring that up, because that is also what triggers in your brain. If you said, I wish I could make
it's different.
120,000. It's different because it's like,
or I just wish I could make more money.
Like it's still out there. It's not happening.
Yeah. And more is not specific.
More
enough.
is not specific enough.
Right.
Yeah.
I enjoy earning $120,000 a year.
Yeah.
That's how I wrote it down, because that means I enjoy doing it. I'm putting my subconscious mind in a state that is, I'm doing it already, even though I really wasn't, but I was seeking that out subconsciously, like the truck. How do I find that?
So first thing is, right, you're going to be specific. I enjoy whatever that is. Not more money, but something specific or whatever it is. And then 2 things you're grateful for.
And 2 things. And you have to do it. So it takes, 60 days to create a habit, or 35 days to create something like that? So the purpose behind 90 days is that you create the habit. You're doing something easy so you feel accomplished, right? There's a general or something, I can't remember what branch of the military he's in, says, get up and make your bed.
Yeah.
Because you're doing something productive first thing in the morning.
First thing.
Yep. It's exactly the same concept. Get up and write something down that's productive, and then make your bed, maybe, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have to go to the bathroom in there somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's got to get up. So, and if you miss, it's okay. But
don't miss twice. That's what I always say. Don't miss twice.
And make it painful if you do. Find
$50.
Find somebody that's going to make it painful with you.
They're going to put $50 in pennies on your desk, whatever. Yeah.
And make it even more painful when they get it, right?
Yeah.
Like that play and that back and forth, and having someone with you, having people on your side and growing it all together. You have to figure out your support system too. Maybe you don't have a support system. That's okay. Call us, right? Call some, like start watching it on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook. Honestly, that's how I started flipping houses. Was like, I could do that.
Yeah.
I had zero money. This is a whole new story. Like, I don't know how much time we got. That's a whole nother story. When I started flipping a house, I did it with zero money.
Which is awesome. I think it's worth a whole nother conversation, quite frankly.
100%.
Have you come back in? Like, how do you go, number one, fix your mindset to a place where you can have the dream, right? I think it's a big thing. We talk a lot about this money mindset that entrepreneurs have. If you didn't grow up with money, if you haven't had it, like, it was something that was hard for me to get my head around. Like, you think different about money when you've never had money, right?
Right.
And so this money mindset, how do you go from,
It's not about the money.
I don't have it, I can't do it, I don't know how, overcoming the fear and making it happen.
You have to flip that switch. And until you learn, and everybody's got their own journey, right?
Yeah.
You've got your own different separate thing that's going to happen. I have even partners, Colin Hunter up in Driggs. He's got his own journey through ICCU. He was a mortgage lender, and now and then hard money, and now he's a developer, and like he's got his own story. We're 50-50 partners on a lot of stuff now. Yeah. And I came from a delivery, like it's a totally different story.
Totally different, yeah.
But and I got another partner in Boise. His name's Robert Renteria. Renteria Real Estate, and he's part of a partnership in Boise now. And everybody asks me, well, why do you keep cutting yourself in half, right? Why do you keep giving half to this person?
And that's a scarcity mindset.
Person? Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
Do you know how much I'm making with everybody?
Yeah.
Versus when I was a delivery driver for me, right?
Yeah.
So
I was trying to do it for me, and it's not about me.
Yeah.
It's not about just me and my family. It's about everybody that we can touch.
Yeah.
What if I can grow my family into this, right? And my kids and their spouse and my grandkids. And what if I can make this into a big movement of people that everybody they touch are like the Arthur Blanks of the world, that everybody he's touching, that's why Home Depot was such a gigantic success. Yeah. That was their moral value, was everybody they touched had to become better.
Yeah. So good, huh?
This is awesome. I could sit here all day and have these conversations, Brad. This has been awesome. This has been so cool.
Right?
But
me too.
Brad's going hunting.
Brad's got places to be.
He's got places to be.
So you're coming back. You're coming back. We're going to talk again about all the other stories you've got. We got to dive more into the mindset. We want to talk flipping houses, all of that. Talk more specifically about maybe what the future looks like, because I know you've got all sorts of plans and future goals and everything, and things we're hopefully going to work on together. But I think I just want to wrap it up by saying thanks, man.
Thank you guys.
I'm fired up. I'm motivated, and this was a really, really awesome conversation.
Oh, good. I appreciate you guys.
If people want to get in touch with you, like I said, we're going to have you back on. But if people want to get in touch with you, want to follow you, learn more, what's the best way for them to do that?
You can look me up as the Bearded Realtor online, and you'll find me. Okay. Because I'm on Facebook, and you can message me through there. You can call me, email. I mean, any of those things. I don't know if you want me to give out all my contact.
We'll link everything.
We'll link everything in the show notes so they can find it.
Yep.
So we'll link you on social media and the show notes and everything there. So
and I'm a realtor by trade, so I answer my phone. I kind of have to. Unless I'm in the mountains,
or unless you record a podcast.
Yeah, because it's over there being quiet.
That's right.
I love it. Brad, thanks again so much, and we're gonna have you on again in the future.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you.
This has been Success Elevated, making you a little bit better one show at a time. Thanks for joining us. Please subscribe on YouTube or any other major podcast platform to listen to more episodes. We are proudly brought to you by Spot On Solutions. If you'd like to learn more about how we can help you grow your business, please check us out at spotonsolutions.com.